Om Vasudevasutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Atma Sanyama Yoga, Chapter 6, focused on giving insight into yoga of meditation. Many important points we have covered. Your personality is a basis for your soul to attain liberation. And there are two stages of your spiritual progress. Think of an egg that has hatched on a tree. First stage, it has to learn how to move around on the tree. After hatching, guided by the mother. And next, to be pushed by the mother to fly. Dhyana movement has two stages. First, allowing you to develop special spiritual strength so that you conduct your life in a more righteous way. And leading you to experience internal expansion, culminating in enlightenment. Keeping that in view, we'll continue. Arjuna had expressed his doubt, how it is possible for a person to attain that goal. Everything that you say, he's talking to Lord Krishna, depends upon mind. The mind is the basis of your progress. Maneo manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. Mind is the cause of bondage and release. So all your progress, fulfillment of your life depends upon your mind. And where is your mind? And mind is a monkey, constantly jumping. How can it be possible to attain liberation? It's impossible. Look at your mind and look at the goal. It's impossible. But that mind has the potentiality, amazing potentiality, led by your sadhana. That mind gains amazing strength. And this is the point that Lord Krishna is now highlighting. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asanshayam Mahabhavo Mano Dur Nigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Grihyate. Bhagavan Krishna said, indeed the mind is restless and difficult to control. First, Lord Krishna agrees that mind is not an easy project, controlling the mind. But it can be brought under the control by the exercise of Abhyasa and Vairagya. There are two methods. If you apply them, then mind will come under control. What are they? Abhyasa and Vairagya. Abhyasa means repeated practice. The Raj Yoga gives the definition. Satu dirgha kal nairantarya satkar sevito dirgha bhumi. Prior to that, the sutra said, tatra sthitau yatno bhyasa, striving again and again to attain the yogic state, that called yatn. And that type of striving repeatedly is called Abhyasa. And for Abhyasa to succeed, dirghakal, when you have adopted a certain sadhana in your life, consider just like medicine. If you have been diagnosed with a disease and a doctor has prescribed the medicine, and he has told you how to use the medicine, but you become clever. You say, why not use this whole thing at one movement? Or take one pill today, 3 days later take another pill. Giving a very joking method. But that will not, even though best diagnosis has been done, best doctor is treating you, but you will not gain benefit. In the same way, for making your life such purposeful and successful, what is required is not off and on adopting certain methods abruptly, but adopting a style of life that must go on day by day, no matter what challenges you may face. And a style of life means integral yoga, practice of 4 aspects of yoga. Karma yoga, your actions, the way you perform your actions and with what attitude, change has to occur in that. And that movement is called karma yoga. Sentiments, how you deal with your sentiments, internally and in relation to others. The key behind embellishing your sentiments, transforming them into something divine, the key lies in love of God. So if you were to develop bhakti, devotion to God, supported by the way you deal with yourself and the way you deal with others. The way you deal with yourself, there again is a law, a spiritual law. Be good. Be good to yourself. Your mind is feeling negative. Now don't get to your computer and look for negative people and their stories. Do something. Be good to yourself. Don't make yourself more miserable. Think of what you have learned. Parents have given you good samskaras of repeating mantra, prayer, or doing some exercises. Be active in a purposeful way. But while you learn to be good, in order to be really good, you share your goodness with others. If you want to become expert in the study of any spiritual scripture, study and share with others. When you begin to share, you gain more insight into what you want to study. So be good, do good, they go together. That movement turns your karma action into karma yoga. Never view yourself involved in activity that is boring. It's a very broad statement, but people are so much pressured by the works they do in day-to-day life. And that is how to handle your life, the jobs you do, people you encounter. Behind that lies a subtle art. If that art is learned, that all that becomes karma yoga. Nothing is being wasted. And similarly, your feelings. You begin to love God within yourself and God in others. How loving can you be? There is no limit to it. How good should you be to others? There is no limit. Because God is the indwelling presence in all. And your goal is to love God. All else that you are loving, they are God being loved through veils of illusion. Sun is one, but there are countless reflected suns. So if any reflected sun has drawn your attention, you must realize your attention is fulfilled by understanding that you are loving the sun, not the leaf, not the water in it, not the sun reflecting in the shaking water. All personalities are like reflected suns. But deep down in every reflected sun, there is nothing but the sun. So a very broad way to understand this statement given by sages, Ghat Ghat mein hai Sai Ramata. In every personality, in every embodied state, God dwells. And that mind has to turn to that subtle insight. Nothing is gained quickly, it requires patience, persistence. Bhakti movement becomes supplemented by dhyana. Dhyana means mind must not wander. Learn the art of controlling the mind. And Raja Yoga and various scriptures give you various insights. And if you practice dhyana, your willpower becomes very strong. And finally, jnana. Jnana is the knowledge. Knowledge in two stages. In early stage, you try to understand what is the goal of life. And the scriptures go on telling you that you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the senses. You are Satchidananda. But that intellectual knowledge must lead, should not stay intellectual. So, it requires a special sadhana in your daily life, that your knowledge should not be just intellectual. This point is all educational systems lack. They are all focused on giving you intellectual knowledge. But there is no smell of ethical value or spiritual value in it. If you don't have spiritual value and your intellect does not understand the importance of it, you are dull with it. But educational system says you are very good with the bright person. You get a high mark, a big certificate. So, this point has to be understood. That movement is jnana movement, jnana yoga. How you are understanding things. Your understanding goes into high stage, then it's called sanamati. That type of understanding that makes it very clear in your own heart that your deepest reality is not the body, not the mind. The deepest I am, the real I am, is the only reality, Brahman. Behind all illuminations, the only reality is the sun. Brahmamayam Jagat, the entire universe is nothing but Brahman. But leading yourself to that requires, first stage, a rhythmic practice of these 4 yogas in daily life. Karma, bhakti, dhyana and jnana. Daily practice is trying to tune 4 chords of your personality: action, emotion, will and reason. When these 4 chords become harmonized, a little melody starts coming from it. How much harmonized, that will depend upon how much you advance. And all this project requires Abhyasa and Vairagya. Abhyasa, Dirghakal. This whole project, when you are harmonizing these 4 aspects of your personality, while I'm describing, all seems like a many data. But when you begin to practice, even if you focus on one of the 4 in a sincere way, the other 3 will join in automatically. This happens spontaneous. But have a general intention not to allow yourself to be disintegrated. In other words, have something that exercises your intellect in a divine way. Have some project that exercises your heart. People around you, if you could share, if you could help them to smile, lift them from their depression, from their negativity, do something Share with them some spiritual food. Halwas. Halwas that resolve the problems of your life. So, this style has to come into your daily life. All these four. Next point it says, Satkar Sevito. When you do sadhana, do not hold on to your mind a negative attitude towards what you are doing. You're starting japa. Japa in your hand, the divine mantra in your tongue. But you are thinking, am I missing some wonderful story that is being given in the TV? Am I wasting my time? Is it really going to do good to me? So you are doing it, sadhana, but there is no satkar, no sense of welcoming what you are doing with respect. So that also has to be built up. The items that to be exercised day by day, highlighted items, tapaswadhyaya ishwar pranidhanani. Tapa, learning the art to wait and not to be impatient. And that requires a lot of internal maturity. When you lack maturity, you don't wait. Hardly you have put your tea boiling, but only 3 minutes have passed. And become so agitated. What type of equipment has come? And toss the tea in such a way that partly your feet are burnt. The cup is broken. I'm joking, but to give you a clear understanding of what happens when you face a situation with quick temper. And that requires patience. That any act of patience is tapas, austerity. Next point, swadhyaya, as which I have already explained. Go on enriching yourself. How much is there to know that can make your life beautiful, delicious, and there is no end to it. Further, the same thing that enriched you and made you very joyous 5 years back. Go read it again and again. It will open up more doors and a deeper understanding. You eat the same cabbage again and again. And you are not a savage. You recite inspiring shlokas, inspiring texts from the scriptures again and again. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, may all be happy. That's repeated again and again and again until your heart gets tenderized completely. And most profound aspect that enhances your practice, Ishwar Pranidhan, Tapaswadhyaya, Ishwar Pranidhanani, surrender to God. And that is a very profound movement. It's just like a child is doing various projects. But nothing is so inspiring as to see mother around. And better still to be in her arms. So no matter how much challenge you have, there must be a sweet nourishment behind your challenges. And who can give it? Understand God's presence is mother of mothers. Million mothers put together. But at least think of mother. And that type of support you have constantly there. But how is it you are not inspired by it? How is it you get bored and miserable? No matter in whatever condition, that divine support is ever present in your personality. Loving, tender, and profoundly delightful support. And you develop that experience of sweetness through your practice of japa. Raj Yoga gives you Om mantra. But extension of that is all Ishta mantra, no matter which mantra you have. Learn to turn to your mantra with such a heart that immediately you feel as if you are in the arms of the Divine Mother. Not like the old mother, father. So all this is called Abhyasa movement. And along with Abhyasa, give attention to Vairagya. Move away from all types of indulgence that degrades your mind. Controlling your mind and senses. And controlling your indisciplined thoughts or desires for objects of the world. First point, finding yourself controlled by your monkey mind. And understand that this is a degrading state. Their mind goes on controlling you in spite of your internal understanding how you should live. You plan to live a wonderful life early in the morning. But suddenly someone showed you a laddu. I'm joking. And he invited you to a big hotel where you can have all the wonderful things. And you lost control over yourself. Later you regret it. Your mind is leading you astray, day by day. Having led you astray, also the mind now leads you to feel miserable. and you begin to practice being miserable day by day. Negativity in you has been promoted by yourself unwittingly. Positivity, the moment you begin to practice positive, same rule, whatever you are practicing becomes firm and strong. But there is another advantage. Positive is the reality. So when positive becomes strong, countless negatives run away very fast. Your movement becomes simpler, more spontaneous, more delightful. So Vairagya must go on developing more and more. Vairagya, not to be drawn to the pleasures of the senses. Control your pleasures and turn them to have purposeful experience. When you involve yourself in a purposeful enrichment of your personality, you don't experience pleasure, but you experience 100 times more experience of fulfillment, a sense of stability, tripti, contentment. It doesn't make you jump up and down and laugh with both all the 32 teeth coming out of your mouth. But it's much more than being all what people say, he's very happy. Constant effort must be there in removing trishna, craving. And for that, allow your mind to turn to Vairagya Prakarana of Yoga Vasishta. Vairagya Prakarana. Under how the sages describe everything that you experience in life, it's perishable. There is mortality. How much attention you give to the body, and the body will not care for you. How much you go after enjoying objects of the world, and yet you are never fulfilled. To understand pain and misery that is involved in abruptly running after objects of the world. All these points need to be understood in a mature way. Sarvam dukham vivekina. You realize living a worldly life with worldly goal, you are surrounded by miseries, potential miseries. And therefore, be like Rama. When he started his life, early stage, he didn't have a taste for anything. And there was a project for him, then he was brought before his guru. Because his father said he can't accomplish it because he is too weak. And Rama then explains why he is weak. He didn't find anything substantial anywhere in the world. Nothing substantial through the body. Nothing substantial through wealth, through all types of attainments in this world. Ultimately, it perishes. So what am I living for? This type of Vairagya does not disturb your practical life. It brings an internal maturity. Maturity to allow the truth to shine. Lord Krishna continues in 36th verse, Asanjatatmana yogo duspraya papusprapa iti me mati vashyatmana tu yatata shakyo yaptumupayatah. It is my opinion that yoga is difficult for anyone who is lacking self-control. If your mind and senses are not in discipline, not under control, you cannot turn your movement, you cannot follow integral yoga. Yoga is difficult, Lord Krishna says. Yoga implies turning your life into the practice of integral yoga, which I explained how your action can become karma yoga, emotional aspect bhakti yoga, your willing movement dhyana yoga, your rationality jnana yoga. How all these four must develop, be well exercised with a purposeful intention. And they must be well harmonized to such an extent their life becomes a moving veena in the hands of Goddess Saraswati. It handles all sentiments, negative, positive, all types of terrifying. The melody brings out all, but no matter what experience you have, melody overpowers everything. That's called practice of yoga. Be a yogi doesn't just mean stand on your head. But it is difficult. This is the ideal yoga. But if you lack self-control, it is with self-control that you turn all these four aspects into yoga. But it can be attained by one who has mastered his lower self, if he adopts proper means. And proper means we have described: Abhyasa, Vairagya, surrender to God. Having listened to this, Arjuna asks, Ayati shraddhayopeto yoga chalitamanasa aprapya yoga sansiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati. Arjuna asked, O Krishna, he who is unable to control himself despite his faith, whose mind wanders away from the state of yoga, thus failing to attain yogic perfection, what end does he meet? Now, another point, very important point. You have straightened yourself to a certain extent, according to your own understanding. But suddenly you look at your body, see your face, see some of the hairs turning grey. Now the question arises, are we practicing all this? So wonderful to practice. But if I die without attaining the goal, all this is lost. So you are facing a terrible predicament. And therefore, the important point to understand, they are never lost. Why? Because you will come back again and again. You are not, your sadhana is not dependent upon only one birth. I'm trying to give you a subtle point to understand. The faith in rebirth is an inspiring basis behind sadhana. If you have no rebirth at all, and you didn't succeed in your sadhana, then you are an utter failure. Neither here nor there. So faith in reincarnation, faith in karmic movement, that's a profound requirement. If there will be no reincarnation in your internal belief, you will have no initiative for sadhana. Because you can't figure out if sadhana is not going to succeed, then you're just lost. You could have done many wonderful things instead of your sitting down with mala. Also, even if you have maintained sadhana, you are thinking of the loss of your sadhana. You did so much sadhana, only one more step you had to move, but you die. So all the 6 steps you took, it's a big loss. Kachinno bhaya vibrashta chinna brahmiva nashyati apratishto mahabhavo vibudho brahmana pathi. O mighty armed Krishna, since he has fallen from both the paths of karma and jnana, because when you started doing more of jnana, a lot of karma, you would avoid it. And he didn't attain and has been deluded on the path to Brahman. Does he not perish like a cloud that has been dispersed by wind? The cloud in the stage of gathering more moisture in order to rain. But this ugly wind slapped it such a way that it dispersed without fulfilling the purpose. Is every individual like that cloud, trying to get all the maturity and be purposeful to rain down something substantial? But while doing it, suddenly death comes like a wind, thrashes you down. In other words, it's very important for an aspirant to handle the topic of death, mortality, and go on injecting within your heart that mortality is not your problem. There was not a time when you didn't exist. Your existence cannot be affected by all that happens in the world of time, space, causation. The you, the real I am, simple way to understand, the reflected sun in a jar of water. Jar is broken, it's the death for the reflected sun. But is it really death? Sun is there. The same water has collected elsewhere and gone to another jar in a more improved way or in a degraded way, whichever way. And reflection goes on, occurring again and again. I will not go into that direction, but just to understand that mortality is not real. So let not your mind waste its energy over unreal statement. So Arjuna has asked this question, and he still continues, Etanme sanshayam Krishna chettum harsyasya seshataha tvadanyaha sanshayasya chetta nahyupapadyate. O Krishna, this is my doubt. Please dispel it, for it is not possible for anyone except you to dispel this doubt. This doubt aspect, that's a cause of sustained fear, insecurity, that becomes the basis of lots of misery. In a very bright culture, though that was the ideal of Hindu culture, to inject in the mind of even a child madalsa, while playing with the child, making the child swing in a swing. Cradle song, Shuddhosi Buddhosi Niranjanosi. O child, you are pure, you are enlightened, you are taintless. In brief, you are Brahman, the Absolute. All comes in a song way. Children begin to learn Mano Buddhi Ahamkara Chittani Naham, and they dance. If that is injected deep in your heart, don't waste your time with thinking about mortality. Think about God, where there is ever new, where you are ever young, and there is no aging. And that type of experience, that type of attainment is hidden within you, and why not you get it? Life becomes a little rasam comes into it, a joyous involvement in practicing yoga. And in that process, ability to face trials after trials. It's like a mountain climber. Once he has developed the sense of thrill, of adventure, now he waits for another bigger mountain, a bigger challenge. Because he is definite that there is nothing, no challenge that he cannot meet. That strength must come. Your life becomes most enjoyable. But when you lose that, life becomes very miserable. And all this is gained by patience. And we have to be patient now. Hold on. Om Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukam bandhanan mrityor mukshiyama mritat. Om sarve bhavantu sukhina sarve santu niramaya sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om.